Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Concord Township Board of Trustees meeting for February 19th, 2020. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Dawson, the roll call, please.
Mr. McIntosh.
Present.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present.
Mr. Dondorfer.
Present. This evening, we are happy to introduce the treasurer of Riverside Schools, Gary Platko, who is going to come up to the podium and give us some information on the Riverside Schools. Thank you for coming this evening, Mr. Platko.
Oh, thanks. We're all set, thank you.
All right, so I'm Gary Placco, Treasurer and CFO of Riverside Local Schools. I've been there since August of 2016, and the Board of Education asked me for this year to kind of get out to all of the different cities, villages, and townships that we represent, kind of do like a financial state of the schools address, go through just some slides, go through some information, and the opportunity to ask questions and provide answers to those. So
Great.
I'm going to pull up the slideshow. Okay. First slide here is just kind of looking at Riverside's revenue for the general fund. This is fiscal year 2019 results that ended on June 30th of 2019. Our total revenue at Riverside was $48.3 million. The blue box there on the far right side is property tax revenue. It's about 57% of our revenue, about 27 million or so there. That's residential and commercial taxes. The red box on the left side there is the public utility tax, about 2.7 million on that revenue stream. The green unrestricted grants and aids, that's our state funding that we get through the state foundation program, and it also includes casino tax revenue, and you can see there it's about 8.9 million revenue there. There's also a small amount for restricted grants and aids that's also state funding, but it's restricted for certain purposes. And the blue box up there towards the top, property tax allocations, a little deceiving. It's actually, that's how they call it, but it's actually the homestead rollback reimbursements we get from the state of Ohio. And then the orange one there, about 10% of revenue, is all other revenues. This includes revenue comes in from the Lake County School Financing District, and then interest revenue and other miscellaneous things like that. So obviously property tax is a large portion of our revenue, so I thought it was important to kind of go through our current levies in effect. For Riverside, we have inside millage of 4.8 mils, that's the unvoted millage. The cumulative levies through 1976 when House Bill 920 went in effect. Current effective tax rate, the tax rate that the residential taxpayers pay is 11.84 mils. We have a 1980 levy that's collecting at 2.29 mils, a 1986 levy at 2.72 mils. In 2009, we had a substitute levy that's collecting at 4.17 mils. This replaced a previous levy that was started in 2004. And then in 2017, we had an operating levy that's currently collecting at 4.52 mils. So our total general fund millage is 30.34 mils. And on top of that, we have the permanent improvement levy for building improvements, repairs and maintenance, bus purchases, things like that. That's collecting at 2.3 mils. And then the phase one debt, that's our elementary school construction project to build the 2 new elementary schools, currently collecting at 1.55 mils for a total effective millage of 34.19 mils. This figure does not include, there's additional 2.28 mils for the Lake County School Financing Districts not reflected in that number, so you want to add that to that. So how does this compare to the other school districts in Lake County? This slide here ranks them from highest to lowest, and you can see that Riverside Schools is third lowest at 34.19 effective mils, with only Madison being below us, and then Perry at 21.52 mils, but they don't really count because they have the power plant and they're getting so much revenue from them that they haven't had a voted levy in 50 years.
Right.
These figures don't include the Lake County School Financing District at 2.28 mils, but that levy applies to Painesville City, Riverside, Madison, Perry, and even if we add those in, we're still third lowest in the county. You can see, Mentor, which makes up part of Concord as well, is 38.29 mils for comparison. Interesting, Willoughby Eastlake at 46.84 mils, and they've been on the ballot. They're trying to go for a 4.94 mil levy this March. Fairport Harbor is at 47.29 mils. They have another levy on the ballot this March as well. I think it's around 4.5 mils. It's somewhere around that range. And then Wickliffe is the highest at 63.78 mils. They just passed a bond issue in November to build a whole new campus, K through 12 campus, and that was like 11.47 mil increase in taxes was approved. So on March 17th on the primary ballot, Riverside is part of the Lake County School Financing District. It was created in 1990, consisting of Painesville City, Riverside, Perry, and Madison. And then the ESC of the Western Reserve, which is located in Concord Township, formerly called the Lake County ESC. They're the taxing agent. They collect the taxes, and they distribute that based on an agreed-upon formula. Historically, it's been based on enrollment. With the renewal, we're basing the allocation on property tax valuation, because when the levy was first started in 1990, it was more of a way to redistribute funds from the power plant in Perry to some of the surrounding districts. So doing the enrollment allocation was able to achieve that objective. What happened over time with property tax valuation changes, enrollment changes, about 5 to 7 years ago, that started to shift, especially with tangible personal property tax being phased out, with electric deregulation, things like that. So it got to a point that became very imbalanced, and so we recognized that with the renewal. So with the renewal, if it's approved, the allocation will be based on property tax valuation, and Riverside would see an increase somewhere around $800,000 in revenue per year without an increase in taxes. What's important about this levy is, because it's a historical levy, it still qualifies for the 10% non-business credit and the 2.5% owner-occupied credit. So those are credits that were eliminated in 2013 on any new and replacement levies. That's basically the state pays a portion of the tax bill on residential taxpayers' behalf. So if we were to put on a new levy to replace this, for the same amount, it would actually cost the residential taxpayers 12.5% more, because we lose those rollbacks from the historical, that were applied to historical levies. And then those funds are restricted for necessary personnel, materials, supplies, transportation, and instruction in language arts, social studies, mathematics, fine and practical arts, kind of our core subjects. We basically use it for the teachers at the high school in English, math, science, and social studies. So we receive right now just a little more than $2 million annually. With the renewal, we'll receive more around $2.8 million, which is close to what we received probably about a decade ago, and it's been slowly dwindling over the years. So this will put us back to where we used to be. In November, it failed by 30 votes out of the 16,000 plus votes that were cast. Went through automatic recount, and they confirmed that it failed by 0.18%. So that will be on the March ballot, and it's an important levy for Riverside. It helps us maintain our programs. I wanted to go back to look at the May 2017 operating levy, just to kind of get some information out there of what that was, and it's just because there's been some miscommunications out there, and just to kind of understand. When we did that levy in May of 2017, that restored a lot of elementary level specials, art, phys ed, technology, that were eliminated back in 2011 or 12 due to, we had to make some budget cuts. We also restored transportation to the high school level. We didn't have high school busing for many years, and we also increased transportation to elementary and middle school. So anybody now who resides outside of a half mile from the school is now eligible for transportation. That was a complaint we received a lot before the levy, because Riverside community is not really a walkable community for kids to be walking to school. So that levy gave us an opportunity to restore that transportation. We also reduced pay to participate fees down to $200 for high school sports and $150 for 7th and 8th grade sports. Before, we were charging the actual cost to run a sport. So if you wanted to play football, it was around $800 a kid. There were sports that were around $1,000 a kid. So it just wasn't good for anybody. So now we're down to more reasonable levels that are more comparable to area school districts. and also eliminated some deficit spending as we were starting to go deficit. But one of the biggest things was the tangible personal property tax phase out. Back in 2011, we were receiving just over $3 million a year. Then it phased down to $2.3 million in 2012, $1.6 million in 13, 14, and 15, and then down to $947,000 in 16, $188,000 in 17, and now down to zero. So, you know, that was a loss of revenue there from the state from that phase out. And looking at state revenue per pupil, the state average is, most districts on the state average receives about $6,170 per student. Riverside, due to their higher property tax valuations and higher median income, we only receive $3,370, so we're almost half of what the state average is. The only districts that receive less than us is Mentor Schools, which is right about the same as we are, just slightly lower, and Kirtland at $2,020 per student. You can see Painesville City's at the top, $10,305 a student they receive. Interesting enough, Perry's the second highest, and that's because they're still receiving tangible personal property tax funds that they're still working on the phase out there, just so they get so much from the power plant being there. Looking at expenditures for general fund, from 2019, we're at $44.5 million was our expenditures for last year. About 52% of that was salaries, 22% benefits, that's about 74%. That's typical for school districts as being an education entity or service entity. So if you were to look at this same chart across all the 610 districts in Ohio, they'd all look very similar to that. And then the green portion there is purchase services. That includes things like you know, maintenance agreements, our IT services, but also things that the state deducts from us, like charter school funding, STEM school funding. It's also pays for special ed services and things like that. Supplies makes up about 3% of our budget. Capital outlay is close to zero because we have that permanent improvement fund that we use that's separate from these figures, and then we have other expenses, about 2% of our expenditures. So how does this compare in Lake County on expenditure per pupil basis? Riverside's third lowest expenditure per pupil in Lake County, with the state average being at $12,472. We're at about $11,265. What I failed to mention on the earlier slide about revenue per pupil, and also this one, the expenditure per pupil, these come from the Ohio Department of Education. They put out a report that's called the CUP report each year. It has a lot of statistics in there that helps you compare. If you want to compare how Riverside does with any other district in the state, there's an Excel spreadsheet you can pick and choose and get these figures out of. Riverside received the Auditor State Award in 2018. It was our fourth consecutive year for that. 2019 still under audit right now. We're hoping to get the award again. And also just want to talk about a little bit of transparency information. We implemented board docs in 2017, so all of our board meeting minutes, agendas, and all that stuff is housed in one place. You can go back historically back to 2013. All of our board meeting minutes or agendas are released to the public the day before a meeting automatically. We also are on the Ohio checkbook since fiscal year 2013. We update that each month as we close our books. And also on the treasurer page on the Riverside website, I got the link to it there. We have our current 5-year forecasts and assumptions from November. We're required twice annually to file forecasts with the Ohio Department of Education, kind of looking at our next 5 years and what we anticipate. The assumptions is about a 20-page document, goes into all the details of our finances and what goes into those assumptions, because things could change over time. Also have some property tax information on there, our public records policy, records retention schedule, link to the auditor state fraud page, Ohio checkbook links on there, monthly financial statements for the last 3 years are on there, along with our audited financial statements and our auditor state awards.
Thank you.
So I went through that kind of quickly, so I just wanted to reach to see if anybody had any questions about anything, or if you want anything to discuss. I'm open to that.
Just a quick question. Going back to earlier slide 3, and you don't need to flip back to it, but the 2016 Phase 1 debt, that's a 38-year levy.
It was a $38.5 million bond issue for 37 years.
37 years, okay. And then all the rest, the 16, the 17, going all the way, those are all continuous, correct? You don't come back to the voters for renewal at all? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
It's interesting.
Thank you, Mr. Placco. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, next we will move on to the approval of minutes. First, the approval of minutes for February 3rd, 2020, the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move that to approve the minutes from the February 3rd, 2020 public hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the February 3rd, 2020 regular trustee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes for the February 3rd, 2020 regular trustee meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are on to elected official reports, and we have our fiscal officer, Amy Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. I'm going to give my treasurer's report from January, since I didn't have that for you at the last meeting. As of January 31st, we were 8% of the way through the calendar year. Treasury balance for the 18 active funds within the township treasury was $4.2 million. Treasury balance also included $113,000 in funds set aside for specific projects. Year-to-date expenditures at the time were 21% of the temporary budget for 2020, and revenue was 3%. So we will be slightly over budget until the real estate taxes come in during the month of March. We did just actually receive $1.9 million in advance today, but that's not included in these figures. We held our annual appropriations workshop with the trustees earlier this evening, and after updating the draft, we'll ask the trustees to approve the 2020 permanent appropriations during the first meeting in March. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call my office, 354-7516. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Elected officials report. Trustees, Mrs. Lucci.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge one of our residents on Proudy Road who brought some concerns about litter in the ditches and along the street. He reached out to Andy and the trustees, who we started kind of looking into perhaps putting signs out. We actually went over his house and kind of took a look just to let him know that we're working on it. So we're still trying to get some clearance from ODOT, and we will proceed further once we get more information.
Thank you. Morgan?
Ms. Lucci and I attended the Ohio Township Association conference after the last meeting. A couple days. I found it very informative. I think we had a lot of constructive workshops. Did speak with a resident a while back, and then he presented some concerns about some zoning violations to actually all of us today during office hours. So Mr. Gornick stopped by, and I don't have any other correspondence.
Okay. I did have one question about the Brightwood Dam project that I spoke to a resident on, and I know we're also working on gathering some additional information to help facilitate our proposed stakeholder meetings for the fire department, when I believe we'll have some dates in the near future on moving that project forward and involving the community with that. So with that, that's all I have. We are on to department reports and administration. Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer, members of the board, Mrs. Dawson, members of the audience, good evening. I want to start by just taking a few minutes to cover some of the items on the agenda this evening to provide some clarity. Resolution 2020 TAC 07 is a resolution to the county commissioners in order to receive a one-time road improvement grant. That grant is for $131,148.46. It will be applied to the joint road program to help offset those costs that you'll be voting on a little later down the agenda. Resolution 2020 TAC 08 is our annual cleaning services contract. This version is for 2 years. There is no increase in cost in this contract, and there's no increase in cost from the previous 2 years. Item D is a request for you to approve a purchase order for the upgrade of the light poles at the traffic circle, and also to relocate one light farther back from the edge of the road. This is based on a recommendation from the county engineer's office to enhance motorist safety. All 4 poles are going to be outfitted with breakaway couplers to make them more safe. Item F is to advertise for our annual landscape contract. Items G and H are related to the joint road resurfacing project, This project was coordinated by the County Engineers Office. It involves ourselves, Concord Township, Painesville Township, and Perry Village. And our share of the contract is $597,992.42, which is 56% of the total contract, of the total project. This will be for the resurfacing of Callie, Nancy Ann, Deb Ann, Sarah Lee, Alexander, Bridlewood, and a portion of Joanne. And then items I and J are related to the concrete road replacement of Lancaster Court. This is for $527,831.25, and a portion of this cost will be covered by an OPWC grant. In addition, our new service director, Tim Brown, is on deck. He's hit the ground running. He and Frank Kraska, are conducting a very thorough turnover, and things are going very well down there. I will be out of the office tomorrow morning. I will be conducting a site visit to the new fire station in Lafayette Township. So we will be talking to leadership there about their experiences and touring that facility. And then I will be off this Friday. However, I will be available by phone or email should you need anything. I am available, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. This brings us to the audience portion of the meeting tonight. If there's anybody that would like to come up to the podium, you can come up now and state your name and address, please. Okay, we will move on then to old business. And in old business, we have the January financial report.
Yes, you have the financial report that Ms. Sadler sent to you.
Correct.
And we ended January with $4.2 million in the general treasury. So hopefully someone will make a motion for that.
Need a motion to approve that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the January financial report.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
On to new business. The first item is a vote on resolution 2020-07 to accept a 2020 Lake County Road Improvement and Economic Development Grant Program Award from the Lake County Board of Commissioners in an amount of $131,148.46 to be used for the 2020 road resurfacing project. Is there a motion to approve that?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept, to approve resolution 2020-07.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is a vote for resolution 2020-08, which is a contract with JAT Enterprises Incorporated for cleaning and services. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for resolution 2020-08 contract with JAT Enterprises.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is a vote on resolution 2020-09, approving the sale of the 2006 Chevrolet 3500 pickup truck to Leroy Township without advertisement or bidding, and authorizing the board chairman to execute, transfer, and convey ownership and any necessary contract or document related thereto.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept resolution 2020-09, approving the sale of 2006 Chevrolet pickup truck 3500 to Leroy Township.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is a vote, PO to Thomas Electric in the amount of $33,520.20 for the upgrade and/or relocation of 4 light poles at Auburn Road and Capitol Parkway traffic circle.
Mr. Chairman, I move to vote on the PO to Thomas Electric in the amount of $33,520.20 for the upgrade.
You know what? It's for Thompson Electric. That was a typo.
Thank you.
Thompson?
You're right, it is,
Yes.
yeah, sorry.
It's Thompson Electric.
Thompson Electric.
Same dollar amount, same
Okay.
purpose.
Okay. All in favor?
We need a
Oh,
motion.
you need a
Oh, we need a
second.
motion? Okay.
Oh, second.
Second.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all right.
Next on the agenda is a vote for zoning commission regular appointment Hiram Reppert for the remainder of Morgan McIntosh's term effective February 19th, 2020 through March 31st, 2023. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Hiram Reppert to the remainder of my zoning commission term.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And you might want to mention that Hiram was an alternate for,
Yes, Hiram served for many years as an alternate, and I think served admirably. And I think we discussed novice hours, but he's a good man, and I think he'll serve the zoning board well.
Thank you. Next is a vote for permission to advertise for mowing and landscape of township properties and cemeteries.
Mr. Chairman, I move to vote for permission to advertise for mowing and landscape of township properties and cemeteries.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is the read bids for combined township and village resurfacing project, LCE project number 2019-015.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. The bids came in as followed and were opened on February 4th, 2020 at the county engineer's office. Carvo Companies Incorporated, bid total $922,099.35 with a bid alternate of $343,274.20. Roniak Paving Incorporated, bid total was $945,128.00 with a bid alternate of $409,067.50. Barbicus Construction Company Incorporated, bid total was $1,008,595.75 with a bid alternate of $385,945.50. Chagrin Valley Paving Incorporated, base bid $1,024,469.85. Their bid alternate was $353,608.45. And Specialized Construction Incorporated, their bid was $1,031,322.55. Their bid alternate was $446,065.95. Those were the 5 bids that were received and opened.
Thank you, Mr. Rose.
Yes, sir.
Next, we'll vote on the award, the Combined Township and Village Resurfacing Project, LCE number 2019-015.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the award, Combined Township Village Resurfacing Project.
Is there a second?
To whom?
Yeah.
All of
We
it.
have to,
That winning bid is for Carvo Companies Incorporated. I apologize.
Okay.
and I believe our portion of the bid is $597,992.42.
That is correct.
need a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is the bids for Lancaster Court Reconstruction Project, LCE project number 2019-017. Mr. Rose.
Thank you. The bids for the Lancaster Court Reconstruction Project were also opened at the county engineer's office on February 4th of 2020. The bids came in as follows. There were no alternate bids. There was just a base bid. Trimore Corporation, $527,831.25. Carvo Companies Incorporated, $565,065.00. Katz Construction Incorporated, $577,056.00. And Perk Company Incorporated, $623,194.25. So for the next item, that would be for Trimore Corporation in the amount of $527,831.25. $1,000,000.25.
Okay, so we will vote for the award for Lancaster Court Reconstruction Project, LCE Project Number 2019-017 to Trimore Corporation.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to award the bid for Lancaster Court Reconstruction Project to Trimore.
I second.
All in favor? And that brings us to future meetings and announcements. Friday, February 28th, 8:15 a.m., we will have a staff and planning meeting at the community center. Tuesday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. will be the zoning commission meeting at Town Hall. And Wednesday, March 4th at 6:30 p.m. will be trustee office hours here at the conference room, followed by the trustee meeting at 7:30 p.m. at Town Hall. So that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you, everyone, and this meeting is now adjourned.